Jace Rowan had repaired machines for most of his life, but nothing felt as strange as the old alien workshop he had just bought. People in the colony called it cursed. They said strange noises came from inside, even when no one was there. They said the air smelled like burnt metal, even after years of being abandoned. Jace had heard the rumors, but he needed a place to work, and this workshop was cheap. Too cheap. That alone should have warned him. When he reached the front door, he felt a cold wind blow across his back, even though the day was warm. The workshop stood at the edge of the colony, where the lights were weak and the ground was rough. The building looked like it was waiting for someone brave or foolish to enter it. Jace touched the metal door. It felt warm, like someone had been inside only moments ago. He pushed the door open slowly. A long hallway stretched in front of him, dark and silent. His footsteps echoed against the walls. Dust floated in the beam of his flashlight. The air smelled strange, like old fire and melted wires. Something had burned here in the past, something strong enough to melt alien metal. Jace stepped deeper into the workshop. Some machines were broken in half. Others were twisted like they had been crushed by enormous jaws. A workbench was covered with scratches, long, sharp scratches that looked like claws. Jace stared at them. No animal on this planet had claws that big. So what made those marks? He moved forward, trying not to think about the stories he had heard. People said the alien scientist who had lived here disappeared one night. They said he left behind a message that no one could read. Jace hoped he would not find anything like that. He just wanted a normal place to work. But nothing about this place felt normal. A sudden sound made him freeze. Tap. 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 Jace swung his flashlight toward the back of the workshop. The sound came again. It was not the sound of something falling. It was not the sound of a machine breaking. It was a soft, steady tapping, like someone knocking from inside a box. He walked toward the noise slowly. His boots crunched against the metal floor. The tapping grew louder, faster. Jace felt the hair on his arms rise. Something alive was inside this workshop, something small, or maybe something trapped. He reached a locked storage room. The door was covered in dust, but the lock looked new. Someone had sealed this room recently. Jace grabbed his tools and forced the door open. A wave of warm air hit his face. It was much hotter inside the room than outside. The heat felt unnatural. He stepped inside. The room was mostly empty except for a large metal crate placed in the center. The crate was shaking. The tapping came from within it. Jace pointed his flashlight at the crate and saw something that made his heart pound. Blue light glowed through the cracks of the box. Not electric light. Not machine light. It was alive. The glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Jace stepped closer. The air grew hotter. His flashlight flickered. Something inside the crate was pushing against the walls, trying to get out. Then he saw a small note placed on top of the crate. It was written in alien script, but someone had drawn a simple symbol below the words. A warning sign, a circle with fire inside it. Jace had seen that symbol in old colony reports. It meant one thing: danger, high-heat life form. The crate shook violently. A crack formed along the side. Bright blue fire leaked out like glowing smoke. Jace stumbled backward. He realized he might be standing in front of something the scientist had locked away for a reason. The crack widened. The tapping turned into loud thumps. The crate jumped as if something inside had powerful strength. Jace grabbed a metal pole, ready to defend himself even though he knew it would not help much. The front of the crate broke open. Inside, resting on a nest of strange black stones, were 2 giant eggs. Their shells were covered in glowing blue veins that pulsed like living fire. They were hot enough to burn the air around them. And both eggs were shaking violently. One of them cracked open right in front of him. Jace watched the shell split. A bright red eye looked out from inside. The egg was hatching. The workshop trembled under his feet. Machines rattled. Lights flickered. Something ancient and powerful was waking up. And Jace was the only one here to face it. Jace did not know what to do. The first egg had cracked, but the creature inside did not push out fully yet. Only one glowing red eye looked at him from the gap. The eye was bright, sharp, and full of a strange intelligence. It did not blink. It simply watched him, as if studying him, judging him, trying to understand who he was and why he was there. The second egg shook harder than the first. Its blue fire veins grew brighter and brighter until the whole room looked like it was underwater. The heat was rising. Jace could feel sweat dripping down his face. The air felt heavy, pressing against his chest. It was hard to breathe. He forced himself to step back and look around the storage room for answers. The walls were covered in old alien screens, most of them cracked, but one screen still glowed with a faint green light. Jace touched it, and the screen flickered on completely. A recorded message began to play. An alien scientist appeared in the projection, thin, tall, with silver eyes and long arms. His voice sounded tired and afraid. "If you are watching this," the scientist said, "it means I failed to stop their growth." Jace's heart dropped. They are not ordinary creatures. They are fire dragons. Twin fire dragons. Born from the last living embers of the ancient flame. They grow fast. They learn fast. They bond fast. The screen crackled. Then the scientist's voice became sharper. "But if they hatch without a keeper, they will burn everything. The fire will search for a heart to follow. If there is no heart, the fire will choose destruction." The recording froze suddenly, as if the rest was damaged. Jace stood in silence. His mind felt heavy. Fire dragons. He had heard stories of them in old human books, but no one believed they were real. And now two of them were hatching right in front of him. He turned back toward the crate. The eggs were shaking in unison now. The glowing veins pulsed like two hearts beating together. Thump. Thump, thump. The cracking sound grew louder. Pieces of shell broke off and fell to the floor, melting into tiny drops of light. Jace stepped closer without meaning to. Something pulled him in. Not physically, but mentally. The eggs felt. Aware of him. Suddenly, the first egg burst open with a small explosion of blue fire. A tiny creature rolled out and landed on the warm black stones. It looked like a baby dragon, small, glowing, with scales that shimmered like burning metal. Its wings were soft and folded, but small flames curled around the tips. Its tail glowed like the end of a torch. The baby dragon lifted its head and looked at Jace. Its red eyes softened. Its breathing calmed. Then, with a small chirp, it crawled toward him. The fire on its body faded into a gentle glow. It did not see him as danger. It saw him as something else, something familiar, something safe. Jace took one step back, but the dragon followed him. It stopped at his boot and pressed its warm, glowing head against his leg. The fire did not burn him. Instead, it felt like a warm blanket wrapped around his skin. He whispered, "You think I'm your parent?" As soon as he spoke, the second egg cracked loudly. This time the sound was sharper, like a piece of glass breaking. The egg shook violently. Blue flame erupted through the cracks. But the creature inside did not come out. It was struggling. Its movements were weak. The glow around it flickered like a dying candle. The baby dragon at Jace's feet chirped sadly and chirped again, louder, as if calling to its twin. Jace knelt beside the second egg. He touched the shell. It burned his hand, but he did not pull away. The creature inside needed help. If he waited, it might die before hatching completely. He grabbed a piece of metal and carefully pushed the shell apart. The heat stung his arms and face. Blue fire burst upward, but he kept going. Finally, the egg split open and the second dragon fell into his hands. This one was smaller, weaker, and its glow was dim. Jace gently placed it beside its stronger twin. The first dragon curled around the second protectively, sharing its warmth, keeping it alive. Jace watched them with wide eyes. 2 dragons. One strong, one weak. Both born in his presence. Both choosing him as the first living being they saw. He did not understand it fully yet, but he could feel it. Something powerful had formed a bond. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared through the workshop. The lights flickered red. A robotic voice echoed across the walls. Heat surge detected. Unknown life forms active. Colony patrol alerted. Jace froze. Someone was coming. Someone who would not allow these creatures to live. And he had no time to hide. The alarm echoed through the entire workshop, bouncing off the metal walls like thunder. Red lights flashed in the corners of the ceiling, turning the room into a pulsing sea of shadows. Jace stood frozen for a moment, staring at the warning message glowing across the screens. Colony patrol approaching. Heat surge detected. Potential threat located. He knew what would happen next. Colony patrol never asked questions, and they never cared about explanations. Anything unknown, anything dangerous, anything with high heat was marked for destruction. Fire dragons were not just rare, they were forbidden. Jace looked down at the 2 tiny dragons beside his feet. The stronger one stood with shaky legs, staring at him with bright red eyes that glowed like burning embers. The weaker one was curled beside it, breathing slowly. Its flame flickering like a candle in the wind, he whispered, "I have to move you both." As if understanding him. The stronger dragon chirped and tried to climb his boot. Its small claws scratched the metal, but the gesture felt harmless, almost innocent. Jace's chest tightened. They were newborns. They had no idea the world already saw them as threats. He grabbed an old heat-proof crate from the corner and placed it gently next to the dragons. The stronger one jumped inside happily, curling up like it thought the crate was a warm nest. The weaker one tried to move, but collapsed again. Jace carefully lifted it with both hands. Its body was hot, but softer and lighter than he expected. It didn't resist. It simply rested against his palms like a sick child trusting a parent. He whispered, "It's okay. I've got you." He placed the weaker dragon inside the crate, beside its sibling. The stronger dragon wrapped its tail around the smaller one protectively. Jace closed the crate halfway, just enough to keep them safe, not enough to scare them, and stood up. Through the workshop window, he saw the patrol lights in the distance. Blue search beams swept across the dark hillside. Heavy armored footsteps echoed outside the building. They were almost at the front door. Jace's heart pounded. There was only one way out, the side maintenance exit. But he had to go fast. He grabbed the crate, tucked it under his arm, and ran. The workshop seemed alive. Machines trembled. Pipes hissed. The floor vibrated with each alarm pulse. Jace sprinted past broken tools and melted wires. He passed the long hallway he first walked through, now glowing red from the emergency lights. He reached the side exit and slammed his hand on the panel. Nothing happened. The panel flashed. "Power unstable. Please reset main grid." Jace cursed under his breath. He looked back down the hallway. He heard voices outside now. Heavy metal fists slammed against the main door. "Open up. This is Colony Patrol. Heat level threat detected. Building will be searched." The dragons inside the crate whimpered softly. They sensed danger creeping closer. Jace made a fast decision. He ran to the power unit, an old half-broken device that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. Sparks jumped from the wires. He grabbed 2 loose cables and jammed them together. The shock blasted through his hands. He gritted his teeth and held on. The lights flickered violently. The floor shook. Smoke burst from the wall panels. Then the side exit door slid open with a loud groan. Jace dropped the wires and grabbed the crate again. His hands burned, but he didn't care. He ran out the door into the cold night air. Behind him, the workshop lights died completely. He hid behind an old cargo tank just as Colony Patrol kicked down the main door. Their voices echoed inside. Clear the room. Scan for movement. Life signatures detected. Be ready. Jace held his breath. The dragon stayed silent inside the crate. He listened to the footsteps, the scanners, the clanging weapons. The patrol would search every room. They would not leave until they found what triggered the heat surge. He knew he could not return to the workshop now. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. He had to move. He slipped into the shadows behind the cargo tank. The night wind felt cold on his face, but the crate under his arm burned with soft warmth. The dragons inside were huddled close together. When Jace reached the bottom of the hill, he stopped to catch his breath. The colony lights glowed in the distance, but he knew he could not go there. He needed a place hidden, safe, far from patrols. And then he remembered. The abandoned mining tunnels. No patrol went there anymore. Too dangerous, too unstable. Which meant perfect for hiding something precious. He looked down at the crate and whispered, "Hold on, little ones. I'm taking you somewhere safe." The stronger dragon chirped softly in response. The weaker one stirred, its flame glowing faintly again. Jace took a deep breath, gripped the crate tighter, and ran into the night, not knowing that something else was already watching him from the darkness. Jace moved quickly across the rough ground, keeping low so the patrol lights sweeping behind him would not catch his shadow. The night was cold, but the crate under his arm gave off a gentle warmth that felt like a small fire pressed against his ribs. Inside, the two baby dragons rested close together. Their soft breathing made the crate pulse with faint blue light, like two hearts glowing in the dark. He headed toward the old mining zone, a place almost everyone avoided. The tunnels had collapsed years ago. Some parts were unstable. Others were filled with toxic gas or broken machinery. But Jace had worked on mining equipment before, and he knew there were still safe tunnels deep inside. If he could reach them, the patrol would never think to search that far. As he climbed over a ridge, he looked back. The colony patrol trucks were parked around the workshop. Search drones circled the sky, scanning the area for heat signatures. Soldiers spread out, their armored suits glowing blue under the night lights. Jace tightened his grip on the crate. "They won't hurt you," he whispered. "Not while I'm here." The stronger dragon inside chirped softly, almost as if answering. The weaker one shifted its wings and pressed against its sibling. Their trust made Jace's chest feel heavy. He had only just met them, yet he felt responsible for them in a way he couldn't explain. He continued walking until the ground changed beneath his boots-dryer. Rockier. The old mining entrance stood ahead, half collapsed but still large enough for a single person to slip inside. A broken warning sign hung from a rusted chain. "Danger, do not enter." He slid into the opening, holding the crate carefully. The air inside was cooler, mixed with the scent of old dust and metal. The tunnel stretched into darkness, the walls cracked and uneven. Jace turned on his flashlight. The beam cut through the shadows, revealing loose rocks and rusted rail tracks. The sound of patrol drones faded behind him. For the first time since the eggs hatched, he felt like he could breathe. As he walked deeper, he noticed something unusual. Whenever he stepped into a colder area, the crate warmed more. The dragons' bodies released gentle heat, enough to keep him comfortable in the chilling tunnel air. He whispered, half to himself, half to them, "You two really are fire." A sudden rumble made the ground shake. Dust fell from the ceiling. Jace froze. Mining tunnels often had weak walls. A wrong move could start a collapse. But then he heard something else. Not rocks falling. Not machinery creaking. But footsteps, not his own, or someone or something, was inside the tunnels with him. Jace quickly turned off his flashlight and crouched behind a large metal pipe. He held the crate close, trying to steady his breathing. The dragon sensed his fear. The stronger one's glow dimmed. The weaker one curled tightly into the corner of the crate. The footsteps continued, slow, steady, heavy. They echoed through the tunnel like someone dragging boots over gravel. Jace waited. A shadow stretched across the opposite wall. The figure stepped into view, a tall alien soldier wearing an armored suit, its visor glowing with red scanning lights. But this was not a colony patrol soldier. This armor looked older, more brutal, marked with symbols Jace did not recognize. The alien held a weapon shaped like a hooked spear, its blade humming with electric blue energy. The soldier walked past Jace, scanning the area. Jace felt every muscle in his body tighten. The dragons trembled inside the crate. Their heat rose slightly. Fear. Jace pressed a hand over the crate to calm them. But then the soldier paused. His head turned. His red visor glowed brighter. He sensed something. Jace stayed completely still, afraid even to blink. But the soldier continued walking, disappearing deeper into the tunnel. Jace let out a shaky breath. He waited for a full minute before turning, his flashlight back on. He had to move before that soldier returned, or worse, before more of them appeared. He walked quickly, weaving through broken machinery and fallen beams. The tunnels grew warmer. Somewhere ahead, a natural heat source radiated through the rock. It made the dragons glow brighter, healthier. Finally, he reached a wide chamber deep inside the mine. The ceiling opened into a natural cave, and warm red light glowed from underground vents. The air felt alive, like the earth itself breathed fire. "This is it," Jace whispered. "A safe place." He set the crate down. The stronger dragon climbed out first, stretching its wings, its glowing scales reflecting the cave's red light. The weaker one moved slowly, but followed, leaning against its sibling for support. Jace smiled softly, but then he heard a noise from the tunnel. Behind him, a whisper, a growl, a shifting of footsteps. He spun around. A silhouette stood at the entrance of the cave. Someone had followed him, someone who knew exactly what he carried. Jace's heart pounded as the silhouette stepped deeper into the cave. The warm red light from the underground vents lit the figure slowly, piece by piece. First the boots, then the large armored legs, then the chest plate covered in strange symbols. When the lights finally reached the face, Jace realized he had seen this alien before, but only in old colony reports. His name was Rickle, a high-ranking officer from an off-world military force. Rumors said he once worked with the alien scientist who raised the dragons. Other rumors said he had been searching for the dragons for years. None of the stories were good. Rickle stepped forward calmly, as if he were not in a dangerous cave at all. His armor made a low humming sound with each movement. His red visor scanned the area, then landed directly on the baby dragons behind Jace. "So," Rickle said, his voice deep and sharp. "The flames lived. Both of them." Jace moved slightly to block his view, even though he knew it was useless. Rickle was twice his size and fully armored. Jace was just a mechanic with burned hands and a crate. "What do you want?" Jace asked. Rickle's visor brightened. "What belongs to me?" He pointed his spear toward the dragons. Jace stepped back, shaking his head. "They're newborns. They're not hurting anyone." Rickle laughed softly, the sound echoing against the cave walls. "You don't understand, human. These creatures are not pets. They are weapons. Living fire. Power that only a trained hand can control." Behind Jace, the stronger dragon growled a soft, but rising sound. Its small wings lifted, flames flickering on its tail. The weaker dragon pressed close to its sibling, trembling. Jace whispered to them without turning his head. "Stay behind me." Rickle watched the dragon's reaction carefully. "Interesting. They are already bonding with you. Their fire responds to your heartbeat. Jace froze. That was exactly what the scientist's recording said. Rickle lowered his spear slightly and tilted his head. Tell me, human, did the eggs hatch in your presence? Jace didn't answer. He didn't have to. Rickle laughed again, louder this time. Then they think you are their keeper. A ridiculous accident. But accidents can be corrected. He aimed his spear at Jace. The dragons reacted instantly. A sharp burst of blue flame shot from the stronger dragon's mouth. It was not large enough to melt metal, but it was fast like lightning made of fire. Rickle blocked it with his armored arm. The flame splashed across the metal and hissed, leaving glowing scorch marks. Well, Rickle said slowly, they have spirit. Good. They will burn bigger cities one day. Jace felt his stomach twist. They're not weapons. Rickle stepped forward. They are. And they belong to me. Jace held his ground. His legs shook, but he did not move. Behind him, the dragons growled again. Their bodies glowed brighter. Their flames warmed the cave, Rickle noticed. Their fire rises with your fear. They think you are in danger. Their instinct is to protect you. He pointed his spear at the weaker dragon. And protect you. They will die. Jace's entire body froze. No, he whispered. Leave them alone. Rickle took another step. His spear buzzed violently with power. Move aside, human. I will not ask again. The stronger dragon leapt forward, placing itself between Jace and the spear. Its body glowed bright blue, hotter than before. The weaker one dragged itself forward to stand, beside its twin. Jace's heart twisted painfully. They were trying to protect him, even though they were just babies. Rickle lifted his spear. Foolish creatures. Jace suddenly grabbed a broken metal rod from the cave floor. It was small, rusty, barely sharp, but it was the only thing he had. He stepped in front of the dragons, holding the rod tightly, even though he knew it would do nothing against armor. You're not touching them, Jace said. Voice shaking, Rickle stared at him for a long moment, then lowered his spear slightly. Interesting, he said. They truly chose you. Fire chooses no weak heart. Then, as if making a decision, he pressed a button on his wrist. His armor glowed brighter. Powering up, Jace tightened his grip on the metal rod. He knew he couldn't win, but he wasn't stepping aside. Not now. Not ever. The dragons sensed his resolve. Flames rose around their small bodies, swirling gently around his legs without burning him. The cave glowed with blue and red fire. The heat grew stronger, almost painful. Rickle lowered into a battle stance. Very well, human, he said. Let us see if the flames chose wisely. The ground shook. The fire rose, and the fight for the dragons truly began. The cave rumbled as Rickal's armor powered up, sending waves of heavy air across the chamber. Blue sparks crackled along the edges of his spear, and the weapon hummed with dangerous energy. Jace tightened his grip on the rusted metal rod he had picked up, even though he knew it was useless. Still, he held it like it mattered, because for the dragons behind him, it did. The stronger baby dragon growled, its flames circling its small wings like a shield. The weaker one pressed against its sibling, shaking but refusing to hide. Their loyalty hit Jace like a punch to the chest. He felt them behind him, their warm breaths on his back, their fire responding to his heartbeat. Rickle took a slow step closer. Move aside, human, he said, voice cold and steady. You have no idea what you are protecting. Jace raised the metal rod anyway. His voice shook, but it stayed loud enough to echo in the cave. I don't need to know everything. I just know they're alive and they trust me. Rickal's visor glowed brighter. Fire dragons do not trust. They obey the strongest flame. Your heart burns only because they have not seen a greater fire yet. With a sudden burst of speed, Rickle lunged forward, spear aimed at Jace's chest. Jace tried to dodge, but he was too slow until the stronger dragon leapt between them. A blast of blue flame shot out, hitting the spear and knocking Rickle off balance. The sound echoed through the cave like thunder. Rickle staggered, then looked down at the scorch marks on his armor. "You dare?" he growled, anger filling his voice. "A hatchling challenges me?" The baby dragon hissed in response, its tail glowing like burning coal. Rickle lifted his spear again. This time, he targeted the dragons. Jace reacted instantly, too fast to think, only fast enough to move. He threw himself in front of them, arms out, ready to take the strike. The metal rod clanged against Rickle's spear. Sparks flying everywhere, Rickle pushed forward, strong enough to crush Jace with one swing. "You are weak," Rickle shouted. "And weak beings die protecting things they don't understand." Jace's arms trembled. His knees buckled. The rod bent under the pressure. He felt the spear's electric hum vibrate against his bones. He couldn't hold much longer. But then a sudden wave of heat wrapped around him. Not painful, not wild. Warm. Controlled. Flame spiraled up Jace's arms, twisting like threads of blue fire. It didn't burn him. It felt like the dragons were reaching through the fire itself, lending him strength. Rickle stepped back in shock. Impossible. Jace lowered the damaged rod, his hands now glowing faintly blue. He didn't understand what was happening, but the dragons did. They stepped forward, standing beside him. Their flames matched his glow perfectly. Rickle straightened, anger burning hotter than the fire around them. "So that's how it is. You think the humans can take my destiny? You think a mechanic can stand in my way?" He pressed a button on his armor. A cage-like device shot out from his wrist. An energy trap. It wrapped around the stronger dragon before Jace could blink. The baby dragon roared in pain. The cage glowed bright yellow, draining its fire, locking its wings. The dragon collapsed to the ground, shaking. "No!" Jace shouted, rushing forward. Rickle stepped between them and kicked Jace away. Jace slammed into the cave wall, pain shooting down his back. The weaker dragon crawled forward, chirping desperately at its trapped sibling. Its small flames flickered weakly. Rickle leaned down and grabbed the cage by its handle. "Now you see the truth," he said calmly. "Your bond means nothing. Fire obeys whoever holds the chain." Jace's vision blurred, but he forced himself to stand. He wiped blood from his mouth. You don't deserve them," he whispered. Rickle smirked. "You cannot stop me." He turned to leave the cave with the trapped dragon. The weaker dragon tried to follow but collapsed from exhaustion. Something inside Jace snapped. He felt fear. He felt anger. But most of all, he felt a fire inside his chest, burning hotter and brighter than anything he had ever felt before. The weaker dragon heard his heartbeat spike. Its glow rose. A small flame sparked from its mouth. Jace stepped forward, eyes burning with determination. "You said the fire chooses the strongest heart," he said. Rickle turned slightly. "Yes, and that is why they belong to me." "No," Jace said, voice steady. "You're wrong." A wave of blue light exploded from the cave floor, swirling around Jace and the weaker dragon. The flame grew, rising like a pillar, lighting the entire chamber. Rickle stumbled back in shock. The weaker dragon roared a tiny, fierce sound that shook the stones. Jace stepped through the fire. No longer afraid. "The fire chooses who protects it," he said. "And it didn't choose you." The ground trembled. The fire rose higher. And Rickle realized he was not fighting a human and two hatchlings anymore. He was fighting a chosen keeper. The fire rose like a living storm. Blue light filled every corner of the cave, swirling around Jace and the weaker dragon standing beside him. The flames did not burn him. Instead, they wrapped around him like a protective cloak. His heartbeat pounded through the air, echoed by the tiny dragon's breathing. It felt as though their hearts beat together, one rhythm, one flame, one purpose. Rickle stumbled backward, shielding his visor from the bright light. "This is not possible," he shouted. "No human can hold fire like this." Jace took another step forward. The ground shook. The cave walls glowed. The fire moved with him as if following a command he didn't understand, but somehow felt deep inside. "You hurt them," Jace said, his voice steady. "You trapped one. You tried to take both." Rickle lifted his spear again. "They are weapons." "No," Jace said firmly. "They are children." The weaker dragon roared, a sharp, powerful sound for a body so small. Its flames rose, joining Jace's glow, creating a single bright sphere of heat around them. Rickle tried to stabilize his stance, but the fire pushed him back. "This is what the scientist feared," he shouted. "If the dragons choose a keeper, their power doubles. They become unstoppable." Jace felt the words hit him, but he didn't look away. "Their power doesn't come from destruction," he said. "It comes from trust." He moved forward, each step shaking the cave. Flames rolled across the ground, turning into a blue river that followed him. The weaker dragon kept pace beside him, its body glowing brighter and brighter. When Jace reached the trapped stronger dragon, he knelt beside the energy cage. The weak hatchling pressed its head against the cage, chirping softly. The trapped dragon responded with a faint, tired cry. Jace placed both hands on the cage's glowing bars. The heat burned through his skin, but he didn't pull away. Instead, the fire inside him surged. Blue flame flowed down his arms, pouring into the cage. The metal bars glowed white-hot, then cracked, then shattered into pieces. The stronger dragon collapsed into his lap, shaking. Jace gently lifted it. "You're safe," he whispered. "I'm here." The small dragon nuzzled his chest, its flame slowly growing stronger again behind him. Rickle roared with rage and sprinted forward with his spear raised high. Enough! Jace turned just as Rickle charged, but he wasn't alone. Both dragons sprang in front of him. The weaker dragon unleashed a bright column of flame that cut through the air like lightning. The stronger dragon's roar matched it, forming a second burst of blue fire. The two streams twisted together, merging into one enormous wave of flame. Rickle had no time to block. The fire slammed into him, sending him flying across the cave. His armor glowed red from the heat. Sparks burst from the joints. He hit the rock wall and slid to the ground, his spear falling from his hand. Smoke rose from his armor. The cave went silent. Only the soft crackling of cooling stone filled the air. Jace stood still, breathing hard. The dragon stayed close to him. For the first time, the stronger hatchling raised its head with pride, its flame shining bright and steady. Rickle groaned, trying to push himself up. His visor flickered. "This is not over," he hissed. "They do not belong with you." Jace walked toward him slowly, the dragons following at his heels. "They chose me," he said. "That's something you can't take away." Rickle glared up at him. "The galaxy will come for them. You can't protect them forever." Jace crouched beside him. "Maybe not alone, but you won't be the one to take them." He reached over and pulled Rikal's spear away, throwing it deeper into the cave. Rickle slumped, defeated, his armor sparking weakly. Jace turned back to the dragons. They were watching him closely, two pairs of glowing red eyes, full of trust and warmth. He picked up the weaker one first, then let the stronger one climb up his shoulder. Their flames dimmed gently, no longer wild, no longer scared as they walked toward the exit of the cave. Jace paused. The air felt calm. The earth felt warmer. Something deep inside him understood what had happened. He wasn't just protecting them. They were protecting him too. Together, they were something new. Outside, the night sky stretched wide and silent. The stars glowed above like tiny sparks of fire. The dragons chirped softly, pressing close to him. Jace whispered, "Let's go home." Home was no longer the workshop. Home was wherever the three of them stayed together. Behind him, the old scientist's final message echoed in his memory. A keeper does not choose the dragons. The dragons choose the keeper. And the twin flames had chosen Jace.